Hi, it's the 26th of April, so we're nearly at Autism Awareness End of Month, although for those of us living this dream, there is no end date. So I wanted to talk a bit today about challenging behaviour. I actually find it quite difficult to talk about challenging behaviour because it's so personal, and I really don't want to disrespect my son or go against his dignity, because I don't think that any 18-year-old would want their parent discussing things that happen in the house. But without the autism, we would not have the challenging behaviour that we have. And I think also when you have a child who is very challenging, you can sometimes feel quite isolated and think that maybe it's only you, maybe it's only your child, and you're the only one trapped between your four walls with this type of behaviour happening. Well, trust me, it's not just you, because it's me as well. But also, I know quite a few people who have similar issues to us. I think Kieran's behaviour became sort of aggressive when he was quite small, possibly 3. He used to bite a lot. I mean, he was always biting, and I didn't think he'd ever stop biting. And I know that the therapists that were working with him at the time came up with lots of different ways that we could try to stop his biting. And I don't know that any of them worked. One day, and I do not jest, he bit me 22 times across my collarbone, all the way across here. I mean, he was small, I was holding him, and he literally like, ink, 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 and I had 22 bites across here. It was so painful, and it was so sore, and it was difficult because I couldn't drop him because he was a small child. And I was trying to hold him at arm's length, but he was quite feisty. And anyway, it was quite a difficult thing. And it was like that for a really long time. And I look back on all his old paperwork. One of our objectives was to stop the biting. And then one day it stopped. I don't even know when it stopped. It just stopped. But he became quite inventive with other ways to communicate with us his distress, scratching, and not kicking, but pushing with his feet. And he doesn't punch, he'll push you away with his hands. And he was like that when he was quite small. But because he was small, he was easy to manage, because you could pick him up, because you could sit with him with his back to your chest, with your arms around him to keep him safe and to keep his arms into his body. And I would put my thumb in his fist to hold his hands like this so that he couldn't scratch, and wait for him to calm down. And it might be called restraining. I don't really know that it was restraining so much, because it was more of a very gentle hug. He could still move quite easily, so it didn't add to his distress. And I think that he actually found it quite smoothing, because with Kieran, deep pressure works really, really well. We've been using deep pressure with him since he was a very small boy, and I know when he's distressed, once he's calmed down so that you can get close enough, that deep pressure on his arms and then his shoulders, and pulling at his joints, just, it really, really does. It really helps him. So that's that. He got to about 10, and I've been told, and I keep saying this, I'm not an expert, I just know Kieran, but I've been told that children with autism reach puberty slightly earlier. I don't know if that's true, but I have been told that. And certainly Kieran at 10, his behaviour changed dramatically. He became extremely aggressive, and he could skit across the floor without almost touching the ground and just launch himself on me when he was distressed about something. And he would headbutt me, and he would scratch me and try to bite me. And again, at 10, he was small enough for me to be able to keep him at arm's length and keep him calm without him really causing any damage to me. And it was obviously very difficult, and we needed to do something. So I managed to get an appointment with the child psychiatrist, and that took about a year. And meanwhile, the school were very good at offering different types of intervention that might support him and help him. But I think he needed medication, and I had come to that medication opinion years and years ago because I knew friends who had got children on medication, and it's like a really huge debate. Do you medicate your child? Do you really want to give your small baby tablets? And it's such a big decision. So I thought to myself, I'm going to make the decision before we get to the point he needs medication. And I think, if he had leukemia, we'd give him medication. If he had a headache, we'd give him medication. I know certainly if I've got a pain, I'd take a tablet. And also the type of medication they give, they're tried, tested, and they wouldn't just medicate a child if they didn't think it was necessary. So we got our appointment. It was on the 2nd of January. It was on Daniel's 9th birthday, so that was 2011. And naturally, the child psychiatrist, she wanted to try everything before we would medicate, and I kept saying to her, can we please give him some medication because he's so distressed. And what's really important is every type of behaviour, no matter how aggressive it is or how challenging it is, every single type of behaviour is a communication. For our children and our young adults who can't verbalise, who don't have the vocabulary, and even the children who can speak, they might not be able to verbalise. I'm in pain. I'm not coping with the environment. I can hear a dog barking from 2 miles down the road. Somebody's just lit a cigarette. I can smell the smoke. It's upsetting me. It could be absolutely anything. We don't know. They can't tell us, and they'll communicate in a way that they can communicate that their life is not working for them. They're not naturally aggressive, nasty, challenging little people. These are children who are struggling every day to cope with this life, and they can't tell us. So they express it with these behaviours. They really can't help it. So back to the medication. We tried several months to convince the psychiatrist that we needed medication. And we went into one of her meetings, and Kieran was in one of those McLaren buggies, because the only way I could take him out on my own was to keep him in a buggy, because I had to keep him safe. He was getting bigger and bigger. And I was talking to her, and I was standing behind the buggy, and he pulled me down. He pulled my hair, and he got my arm, and he bit my arm. It really hurt. And I just smiled at her, and I said, would you like to use your intervention? And she said, shall I get my prescription pad? And I said, yes, please. And that was that. He's on aripiprazole, and he's been on various doses of aripiprazole throughout his life, because obviously he got bigger and heavier and behaviour's changed. But he's been on a steady dose now for quite a while, and he's an adult. And I think that unless we can ever reduce it, if his behaviour changes once he's finished puberty and settled, we won't increase it. And it really helps. It helps with anxiety, and it helps with the challenging behaviour. But let's not fool ourselves or be naive. That behaviour is still there, but it's manageable, and he can still get very distressed. And, we don't know what triggers it. It could be anything. I know children crying is particularly difficult for him. It really hurts his ears. Dogs barking really hurts his ears. And hand dryers in public toilets, sudden movements, sudden sounds, people beeping their horns. If we're in slow traffic and somebody beeps behind me, I'm like, oh, please don't do that. Why are you beeping? If I could move, I'd move. You don't need to beep. I can see the car in front of me. I can see the traffic too. You're just going to cause us distress. And I really don't want a big sign across the back of the car saying, autistic person on board, please don't beep, please be kind. We draw enough attention to ourselves. We don't like being the centre of attention. We certainly don't want to bring it on ourselves all the time. But these are the things that can trigger him. We were walking along the beach, and there was a group of adults with their dogs, and the dogs were barking, and Kieran found it really, really difficult. And he put his hands over his ears, and he went to grab me, and the dogs were barking, and the adults that were with them started howling too. Really, really upset Kieran. I had to, he was taller than me, and I had to keep him safe and comfort him. He was in pain, and we've got 6 dogs and 4 adults barking and howling. And these adults, they were older than me. Everybody talks about young people, but seriously, there are some very unkind older people out there too. I don't know what they thought they were doing. They weren't helping. And then I have to manage the behaviour. Of course, Kieran is so much bigger than me now, and I can't take him out on my own anymore because, as I said, I have to keep him safe, and I have to keep me safe. And he could easily bang his head on the pavement or on the road, or on a building wall. Just, if he hits himself, what's he's doing? He's stops him thinking about whatever else is hurting him. It distracts from that. He's just, he can control that, and that's what he needs to do. He has to control his own environment. And by forcing pain somewhere else, it's stopping him thinking about whatever else is going on in the rest of his body. And he's so sensory sensitive. He really is. And life is very tough for him sometimes. So therefore, then life is very tough for us sometimes. You know, always got some sort of bruising, or I don't know if you can see, scratching. I've always got something on me. Let me move the camera, would be easier. Look at my big hand. I'm a farmer. There you go. Yeah. There's always something there. And he doesn't mean it. He doesn't. And he doesn't feel happy when it's happened. It's hard. It's really hard. He's not alone though. There's lots and lots of people out there that struggle. And I think in this world where we're constantly reminding each other to be kind, just be kind. And if you see a young person so distressed in the community and their parents and carers are just trying to look after them to keep them safe, unless you can be helpful, unless you've got something that's going to help them to resolve that situation at that time, walk on by. Seriously, walk on by. Do not judge them. They're doing their very, very best. They really are. I know this. I know this. We've been judged so many times. It goes above my head now because I'm more interested in how Kieran is and how he's reacting and how he's responding, and to make him feel a sense of safety and well-being. I'm not really interested in other people's ignorance. You know, they have to live with that. They have to try and manage that. But it would be really much nicer if they could just ignore us like we ignore them. So that's it really. Challenge and behaviour. There's no quick fix. There's no, it will never happen again. We don't know what causes it. We have medication to try and help. And the medication really, really does help because it enables Kieran to live in this world, to go to school, to go to restaurants, to go on a plane when we're allowed, you know, to really participate in as many opportunities as possible. And without the medication, that certainly wouldn't happen. What we still have this element of the challenging behaviour. Saying that, absolutely brilliant for his dad. So his dad's fantastic, and I think he feels safe with Dad. Dad's bigger, and, you know, oh, there's nowhere safer in the world than in your daddy's arms, like even for me with my dad. So he's great with Dad. So with Dad, he can go out and we can enjoy everything that you enjoy. And of course at school as well, I mean, we've got his weighted jacket for him. His weighted jacket's brilliant. It really helps. And they can take him out, 2 of them take him out, and he goes for coffee or hot chocolate and a croissant, and that's so he has exposure to these things. It's just with me, I'm his person that if he wants to get a little bit cross, he'll come to me. Lucky me. And anyway, I think that's probably enough about challenging behaviour. And you know, it is what it is. It's okay. We've got this. Autism. What a treat. God bless you.